Data is fundamentally the byproduct of the information society. Every time we interact with a computer, it produces data. Everything we do produces data. And this data is increasingly stored and increasingly used.
As humans, we've largely underestimated the internet. A military-industrial complex created cybernetic feedback loop of communication and thus control.
It's hard to opt out of. I can't not carry a cell phone. I can't not have an email address, not have a credit card. And I can't be a fully functioning adult in this world without those things.
This isn't just a tool that lives in an electronic box on your desk or a smartphone in your pocket. It isn't a one-sided relationship.
If you look at Facebook, right, look at the level of activity, it's really extraordinary how much time people are spending on those.
Does social media have the potential of completely transforming the way we communicate?
Well, in many ways it already has.
I do get panic attacks when I leave my house and there's no Wi-Fi.
You interact with it. And whether you realize it or not, it is continuously interacting with you.
And we also understand that an awful lot of data is being collected about you.
Everything we know about the world beyond our ability to physically travel, we now get from the internet. And it isn't just that we live in an era of fake news where we can't really trust anything we're being told.
And it's hip, it's hot, and most of us can't live without it. We're talking about Facebook. Studies show people are checking it on average about 14 times every day.
A digital realm is now informing and affecting our physical world.
In a study from Baylor University, 60% admitted they could be addicted to their cell phone.
The combination of which is an augmented reality. And an augmented you.
It's an epidemic, texting while walking.
So far this year, he's had 25 people hit by cars.
If you're looking at your phone, you're probably not going to see the sign that tells you not to look at your phone.
New research tells us that this next story has about 8 seconds to gain your interest. That's the length of the average Canadian's attention span, according to new research by Microsoft. It's dropped by about 4 seconds since 2000. And scientists think that growing use of mobile internet could be to blame.
You were worried about where your teenager is. Now we know where they are. They're in their room online. It's a much safer place than a lot of other places your teenager can be. Point one.
Well, there are those who would argue that point, but okay.
For 1 week back in 2012, Facebook ran an experiment on a pool of 700,000 of its users and found that it could trigger a mass emotional contagion.
Controversy surrounding Facebook running those experiments on users through the Facebook feeds.
Facebook secretly conducted a massive psychological experiment on nearly 700,000 users. The social media giant manipulated the newsfeed section to learn if negative or positive postings affect your mood.
Facebook decided people are only going to see positive posts in their feed or only going to see negative posts in their feed.
They found that it did affect people's mood.
How's that for behavior control? And because everyone blanket consents when they sign up for Facebook, we all know this is by far not the only time we've been experimented on.
A glitch on Facebook began erroneously memorializing people's profiles and alerting friends and families that they had died.
Facebook actually conducted widespread studies on its users, not just the one the company has confirmed, but possibly hundreds more.
I asked Facebook for a response to this about the Telegraph saying that there was more than one study, possibly hundreds. They did not confirm or deny that.
But that's just one facet. Have you ever found yourself having a conversation about something benign, like say, that your back hurts or you spilled something on your carpet? The next day you go on Facebook, and suddenly the social media giant is trying to sell you chiropractic treatments and vacuum cleaners.
The topic they just talked about is finding its way into their Facebook feed. Have you ever noticed that? It shows up in an ad. Kooky coincidence or Big Brother?
Chances are you may not even know that your mic feature is on in your Facebook setting. I didn't. And if it's turned on, many people have no idea what they're saying is being heard loud and clear by Facebook. The site itself admitted, quote, "We use your microphone to identify the things you're listening to or watching. It listens for buzzwords, then cleverly edits your Facebook feed."
Some people say this is the app, but I've tested it. You don't even have to have a smartphone for this to happen to you.
I don't think that people realize exactly how much Facebook is tracking every move that we're making online.
You have to remember that in these systems, you are the product.
Must be one of the reasons why even Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg keeps his own personal computer's mic jack and video camera covered.
Now this data is being collected and used by corporations. Fundamentally, surveillance is the business model of the internet. We've built systems that spy on people in exchange for services.
But it isn't just Facebook.
First, it was Facebook. Now there's word another internet giant could be trying to skew the news, squelching unflattering Hillary Clinton headlines in its search engine.
There's an inherent trust that when you Google something, you are seeing the actual factual answer to your query or question, based at least in part on the results of what other people are actually searching for.
Google has also been accused of manipulating search results and news feeds, and the CEO of its parent company Alphabet, Bilderberg Group attendee Eric Schmidt, admits that the way Google presents information has a very powerful effect on people.
A lot of the members of Congress who were grilling you last week made it clear that on some level, this Democrats and Republicans, that Google scares them.
You know, we make decisions algorithmically. We literally believe in the power of the algorithm and ranking and so forth. I do understand that Google ranks information and there's winners and losers, and those decisions have significant impact on people.
But even that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most people don't even realize the amount of data Google alone is keeping on them.
We provide a free and important service to an awful lot of people.
This is why Gmail is free. This is why Facebook is free. I mean, I personally don't use Gmail because I don't want Google storing my email. But last time I checked, Google has about 60% of my email because while I don't use Gmail, you all do.
Recordings of your voice, a timeline of your Google searches so complete it makes the average Facebook wall look like child's play by comparison, a world map of location tracking data based on everywhere you've been, broken out by year.
No one ever lies to their search engine. I used to say that Google knows more about me than my wife does.
We're better parents than you are. We know what your kids' interests are. We know what they dream about. We know what they're worried about. We know what games they play. We know who their friends are. We know more about them than you do.
But Google knows more about me than I do.
Kurzweil explains, Google has access to the things you read, what you write, in your emails or blog posts, and so on. Even your conversations, what you hear, what you say. Google can combine the personalized recommendations of a friend, who often know us better than we know ourselves, with the sum of all human knowledge, creating a sort of super best friend.
And government surveillance is largely piggybacked on these capabilities. And this lets governments get away with a level of surveillance we might never allow otherwise. I don't think we would ever let the government demand that we carry tracking devices with us 24/7. Yet we happily put these things in our pockets every morning. Or if we're told we have to alert the police when we make a new friend. We don't, we just alert Facebook. Or that we have to leave a copy of our correspondence with the authorities. We leave a copy with Google.
Everywhere you go online, your data, every digital trace you leave, is being recorded and analyzed somewhere to present you with a tailored version of the world. We may believe that just because we go online, we have the world at our fingertips, but it's actually a narrow view of the world, being not just manipulated by governments, corporations, or the media, but AI. Our lives online are being managed by algorithms.
The BBC reporting that algorithms are making us small-minded. Your life is mapped out for you, but not in the way that you think. How predictive algorithms narrow your perspective and ultimately your choices.
You know, we make decisions algorithmically. We literally believe in the power of the algorithm, and those decisions have significant impact on people.
But even that's still scratching the surface. Through Edward Snowden's leaks, we've become aware of and grown accustomed to total surveillance, which has been posited more than once was the whole point of the leaks in the first place. Learned helplessness. In the background, the intelligence community is running quantum computers. The NSA is using all of our harvested data, our tracked phone calls, social network posts, GPS tracking, internet searches, all of it, to run something called a sentient world simulation. The program has now amassed databases so vast, they can analyze our lives and predict our thoughts and future actions with relative certainty. With this tool, they are simulating the world one-to-one now, 7 billion people. War games, disasters, you can just take a guess what else.
I believe information is power, and information is becoming much and more ubiquitous.
And we're at a point now in technology where we really can change the entire political discourse if we want to.
We are residing in a total information awareness society.
And the logo, which I actually looked at in the last couple of weeks, and you should go and look at it just because you won't believe how creepy it is, has a pyramid with this huge eye hovering over it. This eye is going to be the all-seeing eye. The only problem with the total information program was that they just put a name on it that was too honest about what it was. It freaked everybody out, and so they had to pretend that they weren't going to go forward with it. But of course, what they did was they incrementally and in very clear ways recreated the Total Information Awareness Program under a whole variety of different legislative initiatives. And this idea that every single form of technological communication by law must be constructed to permit government backdoor interception and surveillance is an expression of what this surveillance state mindset is, that there can be no such thing as any form of privacy.
It's just that most people don't realize it. And this digital feedback loop is literally changing the human race.
They have found that it takes the average human being 25 minutes fully to recover his concentration after a phone call. But nowadays, the average human being receives a phone call every 11 minutes, which means he's never caught up. And the more you try to keep up with the moment, the further you fall behind.
That sounds like a big drop to go from 12 seconds to 8 seconds in 15 years.
I know, and that's the concern, is that it's about a 33% drop. So we lost about a third of our attention span.
8 seconds puts us just behind the average goldfish.
Researchers who are studying what multitasking, switching rapidly back and forth between digital devices, does to the brain function of mice.
We looked at the effect on learning and found that the ability of these young mice to learn new things was very much compromised. It took them 3 times longer or more to learn how to go through a maze than the non-exposed young mice.
You don't have to go very far to realize this. People are getting so emotionally invested in topics that when they talk to each other online these days, they talk to each other in ways they would never talk to people in real life.
I wonder the degree to which social media enhances what we already believe and even searches rather than expanding the conversation.
But people are talking less to actual other human beings in their real life.
Gallup took a poll in 2001, and every average American said that they had 10 really close friends. The same poll this year said we had 2. What happened? Where did everybody go?
The internet isn't just a plaything in a box.
We have the most powerful information system that we've ever created by any means.
We are being engineered.
The internet there'll be so many IP addresses because of IPv6, so many devices, sensors, things that you're wearing, things that you're interacting with, that you won't even sense it. It'll be part of your presence all the time.
Most of us are suffering from information overload. It used to be the great luxury in life was getting information. Now the great luxury in life is getting freedom from information.
There's a reason they call it the World Wide Web.
And it's altering our reality.
Things are not changing century to century, they're changing year to year.
But clearly time is compressing.
Particularly like things seem to be accelerating to something.
Isn't it?
40 years ago we had Pong, like 2 rectangles and a dot. That was what games were. Now 40 years later we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And soon we'll have virtual reality, we'll have augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Just indistinguishable. How do we know that that didn't happen in the past and that we're not in one of those games ourselves?